Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 18th, 2017.
106 here on the great WRKO. Okay, Trump now goes to war over a phone call that he made to a widow of a slain hero. My friends, it is the story now that is literally everywhere. It is engulfing the entire mainstream media. They are now savaging Trump over this. They will not let this story go. The president now is digging in his heels, and I get the sense this could now be an epic confrontation. So, here is exactly the context of what is taking place. As you know, recently 4 U.S. Special Operations Forces troops, our boys, were ambushed in the African country of, they used to call it Niger, now it's Niger. It's in Niger. The Islamic State, ISIS, is getting a stronghold there. They ambushed our boys, special forces. 4 of them were killed. One of them was Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. He was flown back in a casket to Miami-Dade Airport. Now, before I get to that aspect of the story, the context is everything. At the Rose Garden with Mitch McConnell, Trump was asked a specific question about why haven't you called the families, the grieving families, of those 4 slain U.S. soldiers who were killed in Niger. In other words, the implication was Obama did it, Bush did it, Clinton did it. Why aren't you calling the grieving family members and widows of the 4 heroes killed in Niger? Listen to Trump's response. Roll it, Brittany.
Haven't we heard anything from you so far about the soldiers that were killed in Niger, and what do you have to say about that?
I've written them personal letters. They've been sent, or they're going out tonight, but they were written during the weekend. I will, at some point during the period of time, call the parents and the families, because I have done that traditionally. I felt very, very badly about that. I always feel badly. It's the toughest calls I have to make are the calls where this happens. Soldiers are killed. It's a very difficult thing. Now, it gets to a point where, you make 4 or 5 of them in one day is a very, very tough day. For me, that's by far the toughest. So the traditional way, if you look at President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it. They have made the ultimate sacrifice. So generally, I would say that I like to call. I'm going to be calling them. I want a little time to pass. I'm going to be calling them. I have, as you know, since I've been president, I have. But in addition, I actually wrote letters individually to the soldiers we're talking about, and they're going to be going out either today or tomorrow.
Now, the key point is he said, Obama and others haven't made calls. The media immediately pounced on that comment. And not only the media, it was former Obama officials. For example, Alyssa Mastromonaco, Obama's deputy chief of staff, on Twitter said, quote, that's a blanking lie. She then called Trump, quote unquote, a deranged animal. Other members in the Obama administration, same thing. He's crazy, he's nuts, he's a liar, he's a deranged animal. Trump then told reporters, whoa. Look, what I meant was, of course, probably he did call, meaning Obama, sometimes, and maybe sometimes he didn't, meaning he wrote letters. I don't know. That's what I was told. Other presidents did not call. They'd write letters, and some presidents didn't do anything. That threw even more gasoline on the fire. So he then went on Brian Kilmeade's show, Fox News, and Brian Kilmeade asked him, well, what do you mean Obama didn't make calls? You want to clarify that? And then Trump dropped this mini bombshell regarding General Kelly, if you remember, about his son, who was killed in action. Roll it, Brittany.
One of the questions was about writing the Green Beret soldiers, and it ends up being a bigger story. Can I ask you what you thought about when you brought up past presidents and what they've done? Do you want to clarify anything
Well,
there?
there's nothing to clarify, because if you look at my whole... This was, again, fake news CNN. I mean, they're just a bunch of fakers. So they asked me that question, and for the most part, to the best of my knowledge, I think I've called every family of somebody that's died, and it's the hardest call to make, and I said it very loud and clear yesterday. The hardest thing for me to do is do that. Now, as far as other representatives, I don't know. I mean, you could ask General Kelly, did he get a call from Obama? You could ask other people. I don't know what Obama's policy was. I write letters, and I also call. Now, sometimes, you know, if you had a tragic event with it's very difficult to be able to do that. But I have called, I believe everybody, but certainly I'll use the word virtually everybody, where during the last 9 months something's happened to a soldier. I've called virtually everybody. I've gone to Dover. I've seen what takes place at Dover. It's an incredible scene and very, very sad.
In other words, he didn't call General Kelly's son. So his point is, look, I know for a fact when a prominent general's son was killed in action, Obama didn't call him. Now, that just inflamed the media now even more. Now they're just out to get him. Now they want to crucify this guy. So he then ends up making a call. And he calls the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. She is on her way to greet the body in the coffin as it comes back. Her name is Mashia Johnson. And it's about a 5-minute call. Now, here is where the scandal is now completely exploded. In that 5-minute call, in the car with Mashia Johnson was a Democratic Congresswoman, Frederico Wilson. Other family members were there as well. They claim that Trump was completely insensitive in the comments that he made. In particular, what they said was really insensitive was that he said to the 25-year-old husband, look, you know, he knew what he signed up for, but when it happens, it hurts anyway. The widow says that was incredibly disrespectful. She claims he didn't even know her husband's name. The congresswoman in the car went absolutely ballistic, and listen to her just go off on President Trump. Roll it, Brittany.
I have to ask you, are you sure you heard what he said, that the president said he knew what he was signing up for? You heard that?
Yeah, he said that. You know, to me, that is something that you can say in a conversation, but you shouldn't say that to a grieving widow. And everyone knows when you go to war, you could possibly not come back alive, but you don't remind a grieving widow of that. It's so insensitive. So insensitive. He should not have said that, and he shouldn't have said it. That is what stood out in my mind. Now, I didn't hear the entire conversation, but when I tried to find out what the entire conversation was, she said, I just can't remember everything that he said, but that stood out in everyone's heart in the car. You don't say that.
She then went on CNN. This is the same one, the Congresswoman Frederico Wilson. By the way, member of the Congressional Black Caucus. She always wears this ridiculous cowboy hat. She's a rabid never Trumper, by the way. This same woman, just to show you where her political biases are coming from, refused to attend Trump's inaugural. So she's got it out for him from the beginning. Let's just be clear about that. She then jumps on the phone, gets on CNN, and says, quote, that Trump has a brain disorder and he needs to be checked out. We should be praising his family, not insulting them. Trump then goes on Twitter and says, look, enough is enough. Quote, Democrat Congresswoman, meaning Congresswoman Wilson, totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action, and I have the proof. Sad. Now, when he says proof, I assume what he means is the conversation was taped. So we'll see if he's going to release the recording of that conversation or what he means exactly by proof. Well, Congressman Wilson, just listen to her response. Roll it.
So when he says that you've totally fabricated what he said to the wife of the soldier and he has proof, what's your response?
Well, I don't know what kind of proof he could be talking about. I'm not the only person that was in the car. And I have proof too. This man is a sick man. He's cold-hearted and he feels no pity or sympathy for anyone. This is a grieving widow who is 6 months pregnant. This is a young woman. She's only 24 years old. She weighs maybe 110 pounds. And she has 2 other kids, 2 years old and 6 years old. And when she actually hung up the phone, she looked at me and said, he didn't even know his name.
The family then weighs in, not just the widow, but her mother. Apparently she was in the car, the widow's aunt, other people that were in the car, saying that Trump was completely disrespectful. So President Trump, as this story now gets bigger, I mean, it's everywhere. As this now gets bigger and bigger and bigger, he issues a statement, I believe, right, Brittany? Okay, he's asked by reporters at the Oval Office. Here is what he now just said a few minutes ago. Roll it, Brittany.
Didn't say what that congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all. She knows it, and she now is not saying it. I did not say what she said, and I'd like her to make the statement again because I did not say what she said. I had a very nice conversation with the woman, with the wife, who sounded like a lovely woman, did not say what the congresswoman said, and most people aren't too surprised to hear that.
What's the proof, Mr. President?
Let her make her statement again, and then you'll find out.
That you said this.
Okay, let her make her statement again, and then you'll find out.
Let me just say this, and then I want you to give me your reaction and tell me what you think. Even just for the sake of argument, okay, that he said exactly what she claims, the congresswoman claims, and the family claims that he said. Okay, whatever. They're all in the car. They're grieving. They're on the way to pick up, meet the body at the coffin. And I've got to say, when you see images of that poor wife, pregnant, leaning over on the coffin, draped in the American flag, crying in agony, it really does break your heart. And Sergeant LaDavid Johnson is a hero. There's no question about it. He's a great patriot and a hero. And the president deserves to speak to the widow and to everyone, the spouses of the fallen, with utter respect and compassion. However, let me just say this. For the sake of argument, if what he said was the following, okay, which is what they claim, that, hey, look, I'm very sorry for your loss. The country's lost a great hero, a great patriot. But you know what? You know, your husband, quote, knew what he signed up for. But, you know, it happens. You know, when it happens, it hurts anyway. Now, I spoke about this with Grace. I spoke about it with Brittany. I spoke about it with Jared. I've been speaking about this with everybody. I'm like, am I crazy or something? What's wrong with that? Like, what is so disrespectful about that? Now, I don't know the tones, but if you're just looking at the words itself, okay? What is so disrespectful with that? If anything, you want to know the truth? It's consoling. Why? Because let's say you've just lost your spouse. Hey, look, he didn't die out of the blue. It wasn't some fluke accident. He wasn't just shot on the street for no reason. You're trying to say, essentially, what you're trying to say is, look, it's a terrible thing, and he's a hero, and he's a patriot. But, you know, in other words, he knew the risks. He wanted to serve his country, and he was ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. And in a sense, there's something consoling about that, in the sense that, look, this is the kind of man he was, and this is what he was willing to do for you, for America, for everybody. to me, I wouldn't find that insulting or disrespectful. If anything, I'd find it slightly consoling. That's the kind of man he is. He signed up for this kind of dangerous, deadly job. So let me ask you this question, and you tell me if you disagree with me or not. It's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. Were Trump's remarks to the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, were they insensitive and disrespectful? If the answer is yes, text the letter A to 680-680. If, like me, you believe, really, honestly, what is so disrespectful about it? No, text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. What do you make of the comments? Were they disrespectful? Or is the congressman and the media just trying to invent another scandal to humiliate and hurt the president? Your reaction next.
Didn't say what that congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all. She knows it, and she now is not saying it. I did not say what she said.
127 here on the great WRKO. Okay, let me ask you. Now, as you know, President Trump disputes what was said in that phone call to the car with the grieving widow of the slain soldier, the hero, Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. But just for the sake of argument, he essentially said something what they say he said, which is, your husband knew what he signed up for, but when it happens, it hurts anyway. What do you think Trump meant by that? And do you think it's insulting? In other words, if you lost a spouse in the military, okay, ambushed by ISIS in Niger, as they call it now, and the president called you up and said, hey, that's what he signed up for, that's what she signed up for, but I know it hurts anyway. Would you take that as disrespectful and insulting? Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't see the insult here. Dominic in Revere. Go ahead, Dominic.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Dominic.
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome.
First, I want to say that my heart and prayers go out to the fallen soldier and to his wife.
Yes.
That being said, what I've heard is this congresswoman from, I think, Florida, said that he was on speakerphone, but she doesn't remember what he said other than that. That doesn't sound right to me. That's what I've been hearing, that he was on speakerphone.
And she says she can't remember a lot of the 5 minutes. She has said that.
Yeah. So if you're on speakerphone, how can you not remember exactly what the president is saying? That just doesn't make sense to me. And as far as what he said, I don't find that disrespectful, but I don't believe he even said that. So that being said, like I said, it's...
okay, Dominic, look, I'm with you. Look, I honestly, I don't believe her. I believe him over her. But Dominic, just for the sake of argument, okay? And let's leave out even the slain soldier. You're a police officer or a firefighter. And you're shot or killed in the line of duty. And the mayor, the governor, the president calls you up and says, hey, Dominic, I'm really sorry about your wife or your spouse, whatever. But that's what she signed up for. But, I know it hurts anyway. Now, are you going to be like, oh, my God, he's disrespecting me. He's saying that he asked for it. That's what they're claiming. Oh, he just he wanted to die. He signed up for it. And I'm like, that's not the way I interpret it. Am I wrong, Dominic?
No, you're not wrong. And for them to say that they're again fake news, fake CNN, it's just ridiculous. I would not take that as an offensive comment, however you want to put it. But that being said, they're trying to destroy this president, which I have never seen anything like this in my life.
Dominic,
never in my life have I ever
I'm
seen
with you.
How they're attacking this man on every step of the way.
Oh, everything. I mean, literally. Now, thank you for that. I would say maybe in a movie, but even in a movie, every word, every phrase, every sentence, and look how they twist it and distort it and manipulate it. So they want to even make a simple, condolence phone call into the scandal of the century. So my question to you is this, double barrel. Who do you believe, Congresswoman Wilson or President Trump? And what do you think the president meant? If what he said, allegedly he said, is it genuinely, is it insulting? Would you take it as an insult? 617-266-6868. Let's take it to Evan in the newsroom.
I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it.
138 here on the great WRKO. Okay, it is now, I think it's the biggest scandal in the country. I'm not kidding. It is everywhere. The mainstream media, the Democrats, liberals everywhere excoriating Trump for an alleged insensitive remark they say he made in a phone call to the widow of a slain special operations soldier, one of 4 that were ambushed and killed in Niger by ISIS. The body in the coffin brought back to Miami, Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. Apparently, the widow, his wife, Militia Johnson, was in the car. Her mother was there. Her aunt was there, as well as Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. And when I call her the clown and Cowboy Frederica, you'll know what I mean. She's always in a cowboy hat. I'm not kidding. Rabid never Trumper. Anyway, she claims that Trump was insensitive and immensely disrespectful. That, in fact, he said in the phone call, they said everybody in the car heard it, that, well, your husband knew what he signed up for. And she says that he's got a brain disorder, that he's cold-hearted, he lacks empathy, that he needs treatment, he's a sick man. This is not how you treat a widow, never mind a pregnant widow. And now, of course, CNN, MSNBC, the entire media are demanding that Trump apologize. 617-266-6868. A lot of texts coming in. This is from 508. Jeff, his comments were insensitive and inappropriate. 617. Jeff, I'm sorry, but he's the president of the United States. You just don't tell a widow anything like that, not when she's grieving. This is from 781. Jeff, people who hate Trump will take it as an insult, but those that are reasonable will take it as intended, as consoling. 978. Jeff, I think when you're so distraught over the loss of a loved one, you almost can't say anything right. 978, you're really onto something. And I'm not allowed, because I want to respect the family's wishes, so I'm not going to say the name. You will find out, all of you, within the next couple of days. But we here on the Kuhner Report have lost somebody very close and very dear to us. This person passed away over the weekend. Out of respect for the family, they don't want the information to go public just yet. I was shocked when I found out. I spoke to the grieving wife when it happened, a couple hours later on Sunday. She's obviously very distraught. She's in utter agony. Her heart is broken. When you're trying to console somebody who's just lost a loved one, a husband in this case, I got to tell you, when you're on the other end of the phone, you almost feel anything you say is inappropriate or not adequate. Literally, that's how you feel. If you say he was a great man, you sort of feel like, well, but she's grieving. I don't want to talk about his achievements because she doesn't see him that way. She's looking at a father and a husband. Like, in other words, anything that comes out of your mouth, you feel extremely awkward. I'm telling you. You feel like, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do for you? I'm just so sorry. And so I know exactly the position that you're in something like that happens. And so you try to be consoling. Now, I can just tell you this, okay? When somebody says, hey, look, she's crying, she's heartbroken. Hey, look, it's what he signed up for. In other words, at least he did what he loved to do. Like, try to take some consolation out of that. That this is something he signed up for and he knew the risks. And doesn't that make him even a greater, more courageous, braver man? So when I first read this, I honestly thought, like, what is this woman going on about? What are they yelling and screaming disrespectful for? Now, I don't know the tone. I haven't heard the audio yet. Hopefully Trump will release it. But on the surface, I'm like, how is this insensitive or disrespectful? If anything, to be honest with you, I would find it slightly consoling. I'd say, well, say what you want about Sergeant Johnson, my husband. He did love being a Green Beret, and he did love America, and he did what he wanted to do, and he felt it was important. To me, if anything, I'd find a little comfort in that. But if you're looking for insults, you'll find them anywhere. Don, you're up next. Go ahead, Don.
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Don?
Good. First time caller. I had to
Welcome, Don.
Chime in for this conversation that you're having. I had this exact conversation with the mother of a Special Forces soldier several years ago. I met the woman on a job site we were working on together, and she was showing up on a daily basis with an Army fatigue jacket with Special Forces tabs on it. So one day I finally asked her about the jacket. So she told me the story that she had lost her son. He was in Special Forces. He was killed in Afghanistan after only 5 months. We talked for a while, and I don't know how much earlier it had been that he had been killed and how long it had been, But we talked for a while, and finally I looked at her. I'm former Special Forces myself. I served during peacetime. But I looked at her and I said to her, do you understand that anyone who volunteers for Special Forces in their own mind has accepted the fact and has thought about the fact that whenever they go off, they may not come back, but they do this because it's what they want to do, what they need to do. Well, this woman's eyes opened up, and she looked at me and she said, how come nobody has ever told me this before? And the look of not so much relief, but I think she had a better understanding of what the mindset of her own son was. And I know it helped her.
Well, Don, I want to ask you this. I think what you're eloquently, by the way, what you said is very eloquent. But just to put a kind of a little bow on it, I think what you're saying is, it's almost like in her mind, it wasn't senseless. It wasn't just, hey, why did it happen to him? He just got, whatever, in a car accident, dropped dead of a heart attack, whatever. It's almost like, it kind of gives meaning to everything. Am I wrong, Don?
No, exactly. The fact is, every soldier, Marine, sailor, Air Force, in wartime, there's always the opportunity or chance that they could be in battle. But Special Forces, there are more, it's more often, okay? More dangerous missions, things like that, when the chances are just that much higher. So, again, to volunteer and again, it's volunteer. This is not something they force you into. Everybody that is in Special Forces, Special Operations is a volunteer. And you've got to accept the fact. If you don't, then you don't belong there.
Don, thank you very much for this call. And honestly, Don, thank you for your service. God bless you.
Thank you. Take care.
Don't be a stranger, Don. Let's go to Carol. You're up next. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I'm sorry for the loss that you at the station are all going through right now. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Carol.
I don't think I can...
You'll all know in a couple of days. I just want to respect the family's wishes.
Sorry.
I think most of you can probably figure out who it is, but I don't want to say any more. But go ahead, Carol.
Of course. And that last caller, how much more can we say than that? He's been there. He knows how that is. But I did want to say that I really do agree. It's a statement about his bravery. I just think about when everything happened in Las Vegas, people talked about first responders. They run toward the danger, not away from it. And we're not calling them stupid, are we? No, we're calling them brave. And I just think when you say that they knew what they were getting into, it's like, and in spite of that, he went. and he did what he was supposed to do. And I just think that's a wonderful thing that he could do that. And I just feel bad for the family, though.
Carol, let me ask you this. Do you think the Congresswoman is deliberately politicizing this?
Yes, I do. I don't know that she made it up. I don't know what kind of words he used, but whatever it was, she's just trying to make something out of it. I do agree with that. And you know what? I really didn't like Obama, and I didn't like his condescending attitude toward everyone, and I find that he's not a warm person, warm in any way. But you'd really have to think someone's a monster to say something like they're accusing Trump of. And I wouldn't even have accused Obama of that if it was said that he said that. I really would not have. You'd have to be a terrible monster to say something like that. And
well, you nailed
that's
it.
All they're saying.
Oh, Carol, thank you for that call. That's how they're trying to portray him. You see, that's the twisting, the distortion. This is the manipulation. They're trying to make it seem, okay, and this is why people are wondering, why is Trump fighting back so hard? The reason is they're so smearing this guy. The narrative they want is this. He called up a widow in the car. She's 5 minutes away from greeting the coffin of the body that carries her husband, okay? The draped coffin. He knew what he signed up for. That's how they're trying to make it seem. Basically called up, that's what they're making. He called up, oh, hey, I don't know, who am I talking to here? I don't know who I'm talking to. Whatever, your husband, I don't know his name. Look, hey, that's what he signed up for, okay? Bye. Basically, blank off. So they're trying to paint him. That's why they're running crazy. That's why they're trying to go crazy with this story. As this cold, heartless, evil, almost sociopathic monster. Guy died. I gotta call him. I gotta call the widow. Son of a... Get me off. Just get me off in 30 seconds, okay? Come on. Dring, 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 dring. Hello, hi. Is this... Who is this? Yeah, okay. Your husband died? Yeah. He signed up for it, okay? Blank you. Checks in the mail. Bye. That's what they're trying to paint. And that's why Trump is going nuts, saying, it's a lie. That's why he's going, look, this is crazy. It's not true. And I believe him. Because I look at her, the Congresswoman, the clown with the cowboy, Frederica Cowboy, and I look at her, I go, I'm telling you, on this one, I know why Trump is doubling down. Because he's right and she's wrong. He's lying. Sorry, he's telling the truth. She's lying. Just my opinion. John and Lynn. Go ahead, John.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
First-time caller.
Welcome, John.
So currently my son is a lieutenant in the Army, and I did 20 years in the fire department here in Lynn. I consider what Trump said a compliment. He's saying the man knew the risks, and he chose to take them anyhow. And somebody said to me once that the bravest thing any soldier does is take the oath of enlistment or the oath of commissioning.
Yes.
Everything else after that is just part of the job. And there's some truth in that. This man knew the risks, and he chose to take them because he loved his country. That's a compliment. That's a deep compliment. That's the most complimentary thing you can say to somebody. About somebody. He knew he was risking his life, and he did it anyhow. That's the deepest compliment you can give somebody.
John, you're 1,000% correct. And I was in church a couple of weeks ago, and in one of the readings, and I forget exactly how it's phrased, but right, Jesus says, I've never forgotten this, there is no greater love you can show than to lay down your life for another person, for another man. What your son did by enlisting, with that poor, I call him boy affectionately, with that poor man who died, David Johnson, in Niger and brought back, what our boys and girls do is they're fulfilling the truth of what Jesus says, which is they want to lay down their life. They're willing to lay down their life for you, for me, for strangers, for friends, for family members. And there's no greater love you can exhibit than that. That's why I always say, John, they're the best of the best, the bravest of the brave, la creme de la creme. And I want to thank you, really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, for doing such a great job as a father. You should be so proud of your son. And please, John, do me a favor. Let him know that I and everybody at Kuhner Country thank him for his service.
Thank you, Jeff.
Take care, John. More next. 157 here on the great WRKO. Okay, if you want to see what President Trump is up against, right? So we're talking about Frederica Wilson, the cowboy woman. Okay, look at McManiac. So, as you know, he voted against the repeal of Obamacare, dooming it. He now wants to derail tax reform. He's going after Trump on all fronts. So he's confronted by Fox reporter Peter Doocy. Whoa, look at McManiac. I mean, unload. Roll it, Brittany.
Has your relationship with the president frayed to the point that you are not going to support anything that he comes to you and asks for?
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh? My job as a United States Senator is a senator from Arizona, which I was just reelected to. You mean that I'm somehow going to behave in a way that I'm going to block everything because of some personal disagreement?
Yes.
That's a dumb question.
Well, actually, McShame, it's empirical evidence. Notice, ooh, that struck a raw nerve, huh? Ooh. You know the expression, does protest too much. Brittany, do me a favor. Do we have time to play that again? That is so...
Has your relationship with the president frayed to the point that you are not going to support anything that he comes to you and asks for?
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh? My job as a United States Senator is a senator from Arizona, which I was just reelected to. You mean that I'm somehow going to behave in a way that I'm going to block everything because of some personal disagreement?
Yes.
That's a dumb question.
No, I think it's actually the question. Okay, my friends. It's time. Hey, Johnny, it's time to retire. I mean, like yesterday. Okay, coming up next, huge scandal in the Baker administration. Could this be Charlie Faker's Annie Dukin? That story, more with your calls. Don't touch that dial.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.